Okay, good morning. I'd like to call to order the meeting of February 25th, 2016, and ask our clerk, Maureen P. Hush, to call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Charles. Here. Deputy Supervisor Withers. Councilman Ullman. Councilman Trask.
Here.
Supervisor Sims.
Here. I'd like to ask Councilwoman Brendel Logan Charles to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is police matters, and we'll start off with our new chief, Chief Wydell. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Chief.
The two items that I have on the agenda are, one, I want to make the board aware that the state of New York has established new requirements under the Law Enforcement Accreditation Program that we're going to have to comply with in order to maintain our accreditation. They're, in many sense, what you would expect a police department to have to do, but they are going to require effort on behalf of our agency and hopefully won't require much cost. I'll just briefly tell you about the key ones, although there's a lot of subtle changes, there's a lot of combining of standards, but there's really a couple of ones that are important. The first and probably the biggest one for us is going to be the requirement to develop a continuity of operations plan. In a nutshell, we have to have a procedure in place that in the event, highly unlikely event, that our police station became unable to be used by the department, like a catastrophic loss to the facility, a fire, something like that, that we could quickly move our operation to another location, have pre-established agreements wherever that location is going to be, the ability to operate our radios, fuel our cars, and on and on and on and on and on. So it's a bear of a standard to get through. The plan I have is to have a lieutenant work on that project who's familiar with accreditation, and he, along with myself, Captain Coakley, and Sergeant Lee, should be able to put together that. We're leaning toward a town-owned facility as opposed to something that we would have to go and rent in the event we lost our station. But that's pretty involved, as you can imagine. And you think about just a locker room, the ability to shower, and on and on and on. The other one that is a big change is the evidence, the control of evidence. That's going to be assigned to Detective Lieutenant Emma to deal with. There's a lot more requirements for auditing. We're going to have to audit on a regular basis. Nearly, I believe the minimum is going to be 100 pieces of evidence. It's 10% of your evidence load, or 100 pieces, whichever is less. I'm going with it's going to be more than 1,000 pieces, so we'll be at 100, as well as require training for new evidence technicians and evidence officers. So that is going to require more auditing to be done and documented by the department. We're going to be required to develop and implement a social media policy for both on and off duty, as well as a policy. For instance, we have a Facebook page, what our policy and procedure is on that. That shouldn't be too difficult to work through. One that I have Lieutenant Riley working on is going to be a policy to deal with, hopefully one that we never have to deal with, the death or serious physical injury of one of our members in the line of duty. Again, it's going to require MOUs between us and other agencies in the event, for instance, all of our officers needed to attend a funeral, who would cover the town for that shift, as well as what kind of assistance we could get, for instance, from NYPD's honor unit. So those things require us to have that all up and running, pre-established in the event. Hopefully it's never needed, but in the event that it is. And the last one is fairly simple, but it has to do with refining the missing person procedures on a department-wide level to comply with the state guidelines, which for the most part we already comply with. In other words, there's going to be no waiting period. If somebody wants to report somebody missing, whether they're an adult or a child, it's going to be irrelevant. We would still entertain the complaint and move forward from there. So There's a whole host of other things, but those are the meat and potatoes of the big changes.
If I could ask a
Yes,
question, Chief.
absolutely.
We were accredited in 2004,
Four.
and that's a constant updating of that as time goes on. I know you're an accreditation person and go out and help
Right.
other entities do that, and I've even received communication from like Suffolk County for the work that you did to help them even on your own time. So appreciate that. So it is a constant, but these are, you're saying these are some more dictates that are coming down. Because I think we had about 131
Right.
different items on the accreditation process, so this just adds to that.
Right. The numbers are really deceptive because some of those are easy,
Yeah.
some of them are much more complicated. They've taken a lot of them and combined them. I think we're coming in at around 116 now, but it's actually more work. So, the good news is, the way our cycle is falling, we're going to have time to get this done, where other agencies are going to be under the gun to get it done by June. We're going to be permitted to go to September 1st to have everything in place, because we're up for a reaccreditation evaluation this spring. So we're just skating under the
So we'll do the
requirement.
reaccreditation, and then
Yeah, we're
we'll
gonna
do
be-
the add-on.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, we'll be reaccredited under the current guidelines, and then by September, we have to have these all established and filed with Albany, and then spring of 17, they'll evaluate how we're doing with them.
This past weekend, the detective, Gary Haber, he's a hostage negotiator in New York City, offered to our department for free of charge training for hostage negotiation. They have a class that's coming up, or some training that's coming up, and I believe it's not just for our officers, but if our dispatchers as well who deal with people in situations. We've had some
Right.
dispatchers who have received citations for, being able, I remember one talking somebody off of a cell tower and things of that nature. So I'll pass along that information to you. I don't know
Okay.
if that's part of any of our accreditation as to have anything on hostage negotiation, but I think it could be a nice certification for officers and whoever you think should be a part of that. So I'll pass that along,
Okay,
all right?
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, I'm just thinking it may not be part of the accreditation, that if the chief feels it may be something beneficial for the department, but not
Sure.
necessarily that's part of accreditation.
Right.
But that's how we see a decision be made by the chief.
Sure, we'll definitely take a look at it, absolutely. The other item I have on the agenda, there's no more questions on accreditation, right?
No.
Other item on the agenda is, I'd like the board to consider giving the department permission to donate our surplus vests. I spoke with Lieutenant Gravina. Right now, we have 10 vests that are, we'll call it timed out. The vests have a certified life expectancy of 5 years, but that doesn't mean they still may not work. There is a program called Armor of God. It's a nonprofit program that allows police agencies around the country to donate their vests. There's also a release for liability purposes.
I'm just going to ask that.
Yep. They sign a release, and so does the recipient, whoever gets the vest, accepting the vest with full knowledge that it's beyond its life expectancy, but the argument is it's better than nothing. And unlike Ramapo, where we are very fortunate to get those vests provided to us by the town, there are municipalities that don't provide their officers with vests. So I had Lieutenant Gravina do some research on this. I would like to be able to do that, provide these vests to other officers whose agencies don't provide them, but I would need, permission from the town board to do
Okay.
that, to surplus them out.
So we'll make a motion on that right now to,
Okay.
counsel, it's all right as far as the liability, subject to the review of the liability
Fair
policy
enough.
by the town attorney's office. Well, a motion by Mr. Tress, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers, to allow you to go into this program and donate vests that have passed their usefulness here in the town.
Thank
All
you.
those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
Okay, and I'll get that paperwork to Mr. Klein.
Okay.
That's all I have for the public session. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
I just called Rick Struck, told him I have other meetings, so I won't be there.
The NYPD, the crisis group, or
Well, they can't talk about assessing the title. Yeah,
The assistance that your men and women in fact yourself up there volunteering was a great help and made today a better day, so thanks very much.
It was a really good event.
Okay, acceptance of the minutes for our organizational meeting of January 5th. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Next is our town attorney, Michael Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The first resolution is to approve an agreement with Nyack Hospital for our employee assistance program. This is for non-police employees. We enter a similar resolution each year.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Mr. Tress. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
A few years ago, at the request of the Feist Ambulance Corps, the town agreed to purchase a property adjacent to their existing facility to help them expand. We bonded for that, and we closed on the purchase. During the course of their planning to expand the facility, the Village of Chestnut Ridge, which controls the zoning, has indicated that they'd like the landowner, meaning the town, to sign an agreement regarding maintenance of stormwater control facilities. We have discussed this with the Feist Ambulance Corps, and this resolution indicates that we will enter that agreement with the village to facilitate the construction of the facility, and Feist will be the entity that actually pays and maintains the facilities which are the subject of that request by the village.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
3B in the agenda is a resolution settling a property damage claim involving a vehicle accident that was caused by a town employee.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
We presently are engaged in a litigation involving an injury to a person attending an event at the ballpark. This resolution will authorize the town to commence a third-party action against the security company that was hired to manage the security at that event.
This is the benefit of the town, right?
Correct.
Protect the power movement.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilman Tress. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next resolution approves retaining a firm called Baker Tilly to assist the town in the defense of certain litigation. This is for auditing services.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next item is on for discussion. The town received a petition requesting a zone change on certain property off Town Road. The property is zoned PI, and the owner of the property wishes to ask the town board to entertain a zone change petition, converting the property to MR12. Now, the board has no obligation whatsoever to entertain the petition. If it wished to do so, it could refer it to the town planning board for its review and recommendation. You can invite the petitioner in to discuss it, or we have no obligation to proceed any further at this point in time and can just table it indefinitely.
I think it should be tabled indefinitely. I don't think the town wants to change a PI zone to most. I don't want somebody to have the thinking that they could do environmental or engineering that they were going to get some, or even be able to go before the planning board. So I think it's the consensus of this board that we don't want to entertain their request.
I will so advise the applicant's attorney, who gleaned that from our prior discussions, but now we will indicate.
Do we need a formal vote on
We
it?
do not.
Okay.
We do not. I believe that completes
Okay.
the town attorney's portion of the agenda.
Okay, the next item up is purchasing. Mona Martel. Mona?
Supervisor, as the first of the acceptance of bid for the purchase of building materials and supplies.
Moved by?
I'm actually, before this, would like to recuse myself. I personally know two people here.
Okay. Moved by Councilman Charles, second by Councilman Tress. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
One.
3-0-1 abstention. Thank you, Maureen.
Next item is the acceptance of the proposal for furnishing and cleaning of uniforms. This is after detailed discussions with various departments, they're asking me to accept the proposal of American Wear uniforms as listed.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
I have one more item, Supervisor, that I couldn't get it onto the computer. This is in reference to the clothing bid for the Parks and Recreation Department, and I'm going to ask you to accept the bid as per Michelle's, our Parks and Recreation Director's recommendations for the lowest bidders for each category. And I'll supply that to you.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Tress. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. And they were all the lowest bidders. Okay. Next is a highway authorization for 3 employees to attend the Cornell Local Roads Program in Ithaca, New York, June 5th through 8th. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. We also, on the highway issues, we want to set up a committee for Sanitation and Safety Committee, which will help us on our initiative, not just with the spring cleanup, but our initiative to make our roads safer and cleaner. And I'd like to set up the committee of the Sanitation and Safety Committee. Moved by? Moved by Councilwoman Charles, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. And then to appoint to that committee as chairperson Moses Gross, and then as members of the committee, Benjamin Merlstein, Shia Glick, Yitzi Ullman, myself, Israel Kahan, and also we will have a mayoral representative, Mayor Brin. Moved by Councilman Tress, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. We also want to accept the termination of a person on our zoning board, and that's Israel Beer. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We'll send a letter thanking him for his service, and to appoint to that position until that position expires in December of this year, 2016, Michael Rossman. Moved by? Moved by Councilwoman Charles, second by Mr. Tress. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Did you have any other new business, Council?
Only,
For executive session? Or?
the only items that are left, I believe, are executive session matters. There is a pending litigation update to discuss with the board. There's a police disciplinary matter to discuss, and I believe there's an employee matter in the rec department to be discussed as well.
Okay, so before we go into executive session, did you have anything else in purchasing or personnel, any, Marta? Oh, for executive session. Okay, so we have some personnel. Before we do that, though, we want to let people here that want to speak, speak. So anybody in the public like to speak, raise their hand. Come right up.
It's Robert Romanowski, 183 Maple Avenue, Muncie. I want to talk about the possibility of Legoland in the town of Ramapo. I think this project with Legoland may work. With the transportation, I would think there would be an exit and entrance ramp right off the thruway into the Legoland that will keep all the traffic off the local roads. But there's something else with this property too, with the transportation, which I think is very important. This project has the thruway on the north for transportation, but what hasn't been brought up for transportation is what the property has on the south, and that's the old Piermont branch of the railroad that runs between Suffern and Spring Valley. I think this also could be utilized with this project, and that it could be reopened between Spring Valley and Suffern. This would allow people from all over the area to reach the site very easily without adding any additional traffic onto the local roads. You could arrive by Newark Airport, and it's possible to get a train up to here, and you could stay at the hotel. There's also been talk about putting a spur on the Port Jervis line to serve Stewart Airport. That would also allow people to arrive that way. And I think that this option could possibly allow hundreds of thousands of people to visit Legoland without adding one single vehicle to the local and surrounding highway system. And I think this also could be used as a selling point to attract Merlin Entertainment to this site. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romanowski. Mr. Dent.
Rudy Dent, 8 Red Oak Lane and 272 McNamara Road. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Chief Wydell on his appointment. I hope that he's better able to do a better job in protecting the rights of police officers, trying to do their job with liberty and justice for all, as opposed to some. The buses, there's a new situation I'm sure you're aware of, Kaiser Joel and Monzi and the ongoing major blockbusting operations that have been going on in this town. And I'm speaking from a perspective of a licensed real estate salesperson who has worked in this town. The newest thing is now they're bringing buses into what the East Ramapo School District has ruled against for safety reasons, that no buses shall come into private streets, shall come into a private cul-de-sac, or shall back up. All of these have been done for past 3 months in my village of New Hempstead. But it is now going on in Airmont and Chestnut Ridge. I chose to ignore it since my village hall is non-responsive. The code enforcer doesn't enforce the codes. And what happened, I had my mailbox knocked down by one of these buses seesawing to make the turn. My wife told me I was in my pajamas. I forgot I was a civilian. I thought I was a cop again, and I jumped into my car and I ran down the bus, stopped traffic, and had him call in his department and call the police, and I had him return to the scene. And anyway, long story short, they paid me $240 to replace my mailbox and plus the contract. But this is going on unabated, and one of the things you might look into is the fact that they're saying now that they're able to do this and circumvent the East Ramapo School Board directive, safety directive, because they're using yeshiva funding as opposed to funding from the East Ramapo School. I have never, in what I have come to see from the practices of this particular sect, to pay a nickel of their money when they can get it for free. So now they're saying that their yeshiva is paying for a free service that is already provided from the East Ramapo School District. I went and I checked that out and found out that one of the bus companies that was coming into my cul-de-sac was in fact funded by them, and that one was stopped. The other two are allegedly still being paid by the yeshivas, so they're circumventing our laws.
Go ahead, you can wrap up. You can wrap up your remarks.
All right, that's that. And as far as I looked into protected properties when I was into my legal actions with the same mob. Anyway, I found that protected properties can, in fact, be retired. And if you would consider retiring the property around your home, it would be a very popular move and very beneficial to your supporters who wouldn't have to spend so much time and money up on Patrick Farm. It's a thought. Quite a few other things, but this is not even nearly enough time to cover all the points that have come up. Also, as I told you before, if you are found to step outside of your fiduciary obligations or the administrative practices within your administration are found or judged as such, your indemnification will run away from you. And that seems to have been the case because now we're spending our tax money to defend you and your administration against alleged allegations of stepping outside of your fiduciary obligations. So I don't think that's right. In today's world, ignorance is a choice. I've had to, as a police officer, a code enforcer, a building inspector, FDNY trained, I've had to see incredible things. I've seen code enforcers back down. I've seen police officers back down from doing their job out of fear of repercussions from this organized mob. I'd like to see a change in that, and I hope the new chief can help defend and support his policemen so that they can do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak?
Good morning, Yisrael Khan, 103 West Maple Avenue, Muncie. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the new chief on his new position. I've known Chief Waddell for almost 20 years, probably. Enough to know that you're a fan of Sean Hannity. Me too. We have a great department here, and as a taxpayer, one of the things I never look on my tax bill is how much we're spending on law enforcement. They do a phenomenal job. It's a combined effort from the chief all the way down to the auxiliary officers, the dispatchers, and every person living in this town. We have, crime is we were cited for the safest town so many times, and that's thanks to all of you guys walking the walk. And yes, we can say that, New York City is New York City, but, this is Ramapo. We need a police department, and we're grateful for what they have. So congratulations. If I may just add to the Sanitation and Safety Committee, if we can maybe include a suggestion, somebody representing the schools or buses, because that's a major factor in traffic and impact. For instance, this morning, and I've had this discussion with members of the department, when there's construction on 306 or any main artery or thoroughfare, maybe we can limit the times when they do construction. This morning, a bus driver called me at 8 o'clock. They're setting up to close a lane on 306. So before calling in the department, I went over there and I spoke to the foreman, and I explained to him that, if you can wait till after 9:30, it'll make a major, and he said, no problem, we'll set up the signs and we'll wait. But I think that the bus drivers are a big impact, and maybe we can consider adding somebody from the a bus driver or manager of a bus company so we can have their input in this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak? Motion to close the public participation. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay. Motion to go in executive session for personnel and for litigation. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. We'll go into executive session and come back into the public session after that. Okay, we're out of executive session and we're back into our regular meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all very much.